What an event. This was awesome. This is why MMA is the best sport. When it all comes together and it all works out so well, it's as good as anything gets. I've seen the fucking Tom Brady winning that epic comeback in the Super Bowl. I've seen the New York Rangers win some epic comebacks in the NHL and yada, yada, yada. Nothing gets better than a great MMA event, great UFC event, really. And this one, like I said, coming into it, it had a great card. You need to have a great card to even have a shot at having an epic event. Because otherwise, may as well be fighting in a fucking high school because no one gives a shit. But if it's a good UFC card with a lot of important fights and it all goes well, it becomes an event for the ages, which is what this was. It's not a pay-per-view event, so it'll never be compared to the pay-per-view events, on paper anyway, because those are superior cards. But the UFC puts together good fight night cards. There were a lot of complaints the last few months, but like I said, coming into this event, when I was talking about the card in the pre-fight video, this was a very good card. We did lose Cowboy versus Joe, which would have produced a knockout, I think. I was very sure of that, that it would have ended via strikes, TKO or knockout. And instead, we were denied that. But still, nevertheless, we had 4 decisions out of 13 fights. There were 9 knockouts. That includes a doctor stoppage from Joaquin Buckley over Albert Derive. But this was an amazing event. It's one worth rewatching down the line. I'm sure, there's a lot of great moments here that'll be replayed and, people will go back to, because a lot of these fighters are just moving on up in the UFC, and they gained a lot of great highlights last night, a lot of different fighters. So I'm going to start at the top, talk about Calvin Kattar versus Josh Emmett. I scored it for Emmett, but as soon as the fight was over, I said split decision, doesn't matter who it goes to. Could be, unanimous either way. These guys both scratched and clawed, and there were a lot of close rounds that could have gone either way. Too many to really lock in on a victor by the end of the fight. And I thought I was leaning towards Josh Emmett. I thought the decision went the right way, but wouldn't have complained if it went to Calvin Kattar. Josh Emmett is a problem for anybody. He really is. He's been controlled a few times on the feet, but generally he's the better striker than just about anybody. And I don't even mean striking-wise technically. I just mean his power. His power, the threat of his power, and his stamina and volume. It's incredible for a guy that powerful to hit that frequently, that hard. And he's a tank, man. He's a problem for anybody. That includes Volkanovski. It's not like I wouldn't pick anybody to run over Josh Emmett. And Calvin Kattar, he's a problem for anybody too, but I just feel like he, as the commentators pointed out, he didn't mix it up enough in this fight. I thought the fight was dictated by Josh Emmett and Josh Emmett's power, and I thought Calvin Kattar really needed to lead that dance. I was expecting him to fight longer and sharper, more straight punches, of course, than Josh Emmett, and to be winning down the middle with jabs and straights. And he just never started leading that dance. It was Josh Emmett leading. And to Josh Emmett's credit, he moves very well. And he moves very well, as we've seen now, for 25 minutes. Although, maybe he's starting to slow down a little bit in the end. But nevertheless, great fucking main event. Came down to the 5th round. And look, I'll just insert this here. I'll insert it everywhere else, just like all the fucking hack journalists try to push their, agenda. I don't like open scoring. So for you 9 people that are reading this, or watching this, I don't like open scoring. I hate open scoring. I hate the concept of it. I understand, the fighters. I'm thinking on behalf of the fans. I loved last night going into round 5 thinking, I don't know who's winning. And I don't know who's winning. Could go either way. And I was pleasantly surprised with the decision. But still, I was surprised, which is all I want. I want the surprise. And don't take that away from me as a fan. I know it's more interesting. Now you can see this one and that one, and shut the fuck up, Ariel Helwani. Nobody gives a shit. Some guys just have to be an activist. I'm fighting on behalf of the fighters. Just shut the fuck up. Think on behalf of the fans. Fuck the fighters. All right. No, I understand that, and especially when it comes to fighter pay and whatever, they're thinking on behalf of the fighters, and a lot of them get to know these guys, but they just become activists. They get it in their head that something's gonna fix the world. The 165-pound division, we need it, and open scoring, and it's like you lose me when you become an activist. I know exactly where you're going, and then when I watch you start interviewing other fighters and you're leading them down this road and you want to hear them bitch about the UFC or whatever, I don't trust you. So I'll come forth with my agenda openly. I'm against open scoring. All right. That was a bit of a rant, but whatever. Felt it needed to be said. Tim Means versus Kevin Holland was the co-main event after Cowboy versus Joe was bumped. Kevin Holland clubbed and subbed Tim Means. I thought Kevin Holland looked like the better fighter in round one, the sharper fighter. And, I was waiting for Tim Means to take over. I mean, I expected Kevin Holland to win via knockout, as I predicted coming into the fight. I thought it would happen in round one. But after it didn't happen in round one, I was expecting Tim to slow the fight down, make it a little dirtier, since he's the dirty bird. But Kevin Holland caught him. He's got really good power, as he says, at 185 and 170. 170 in particular, despite his knockout over Jacare. And he put Tim Means away. He knocked him down and then put him in a Darce. I always have to think, was it a Darce or an Anaconda? I believe it was a Darce. Kevin Holland's got great chokes, and that was awesome. And he also chased down a thief the day before the fight, which at this point I'm becoming skeptical. Like, all right, is this staged or whatever? How often does this guy run into a fucking crime in progress? But still, I believe he's, whatever. Maybe he's just compelled to it in one way or another, looking for it, because he thinks of himself as a vigilante, which at this point he is. So cool on Kevin Holland, if that was all legitimate and whatever. Joaquin Buckley finished Albert Derive after 2 rounds. He was up 2 rounds, knocked him around. It was a sustained beating Derive was taking. His eye was swollen shut, and I'm not sure he would have made it out of the third round anyway. He wasn't able to impose his wrestling. I got that one wrong. And Buckley, after scratching and clawing to win against Al Hassan in a razor-thin fight, he pulled ahead nicely here against Derive. I thought Buckley looked really good. I thought, at first I wasn't impressed with the way his striking was going. I thought he needed to get inside more with his hands. Instead, he was going for a lot of these long kicks, the first of which landed very nicely. But Buckley, took over that fight, and he did it with his hands. And he ate a good amount of strikes, too. He had a head kick early on after he landed his. Derive returned a head kick, and it hit him like flush in the head. It reminded me of the Kiriko. And Buckley didn't go anywhere. He hung tough, stood in there, and just like I said, it was a sustained beating. So, great win for Buckley. Ismagulov versus Kutateladze. This was a war, a technical war. Such a good fight. You could see the potential, or at least I could. I had it in my head, and wow, these are like champions here fighting. And Kutateladze, even though I bet against him, I picked against him and bet against him. I bet on Ismagulov, a small bet to win via decision, and I did win that. I thought Kutateladze at shitty odds. That's why it was a small bet, just whatever, make up for another bet. And Kutateladze, I thought, won the fight. I thought he won the fight. I thought he looked like he pulled ahead in round 3. I thought he clearly won round 1, stole it in the end, and Ismagulov won round 2 clearly. It came down to round 3, and, of course, the story of the fight afterwards is going to be with 10 seconds left. The fight was stopped. Herb Dean gave Kutateladze a warning for the knee to the chest. Let me say this. I think that was a good move on Herb Dean's part. I didn't like it because I saw right away where it was going, or it took the certainty that was a Kutateladze round out of question. It was now up in the air. And there's always, at least when you're betting, you probably think this way. There's a sympathy factor where they're sympathetic to the guy who may have been wronged or whatever. And with 10 seconds left, it's fresh in their minds, the recency bias and whatever. Right away, my mind started racing. This swung the fight for Ismagulov. And to his credit, he landed a nice strike in the last 5 seconds once they restarted it. But I still thought Kutateladze won that fight. Kutateladze, he's... I don't know if he's always going to be busted up and whatever. He was busted up mainly from the jab of Ismagulov, which I thought coming into the fight would win him that would be what won him the fight. Just over the course of 15 minutes, his jab will do the talking. But Kutateladze had a lot of answers, just great answers. Elbows in tight and strong kicks from the outside. And plus, he moves very well. He moves very well, and he's always moving his head too, which, it's the first line of defense for the jab, I guess. And like I said, I thought he won this fight, and that would have been a great win, even better than the Gamrot win, perhaps. And instead it went to Ismagulov, but Kutateladze, I'm still incredibly high on him. I think he's, 2-0 in my head in the UFC, but still he's had 2 excellent showings against 2 excellent fighters. These 3 guys, those 2 in Gamrot, one of them is going to be champion, and I bet at least 2 of them are going to challenge for the title. These are really high-level fights that are, going under the radar a bit. I'm glad it was on the main card, though, so maybe it wasn't too under the radar. Marquez got knocked out by Gregory Rodriguez. I got that one wrong. Although I expected the first round to go like that. I expected Rodriguez to be winning up until he lost. And instead, he just won up until he won. And he looked really good. Rodriguez is a jiu-jitsu wrestler, but no. He's one of those Dan Henderson types. At this point, he's a striker. He's a knockout artist. When a guy finds out he carries that kind of power, there's no talking him out of being who he wants to be. He's the knockout guy. And Marquez, this is the first time I believe he was knocked out. This was an eye-opening loss. He was knocked around, which has happened before, and historically he's been able to take it, but this just proved to be too much, and he needed an answer for Gregory Rodriguez. Not to immediately win the fight or whatever, but to slow it down. He needed a way out of that fight, that brawl, and he wasn't able to find it or create one. And Gregory Rodriguez, man, the story of the fight is power in hands, and that guy, he hits harder than anybody. He's like fucking Rumble Johnson. So that was an excellent win. Really big fan of both guys. I wanted to see Marquez win just for betting purposes and whatever, but I can't say I like him better than Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory Rodriguez, one of those guys who, like a Nogueira, he looks 10 years older than he is, and that's the kind of guy I can get behind, because same here. All right. Anyway, now you see why I keep the hat on, if you even made it to this point in the fucking video. Adrian Yanez versus Tony Kelly. This was an excellent performance from Yanez. Tony Kelly, I think, is very tough. Very, very tough. I think this is already like an underrated win, an overlooked win. Tony Kelly will never be a world beater, but I think he's going to be really hard to put away, even going forward, despite him being 35 years old. There's a chance he starts to slip, and it only becomes easier to knock him out. But I consider this a big feat for Yanez. Yanez, the guy, look, I thought he would win. I thought he would win via decision. I picked a KO round 3 after Tony Kelly made weight. But I didn't see him him running through Tony Kelly like this. He's got hands that are sharper than anybody, maybe in the UFC for all I know. He's got insane hands, Adrian Yanez. They're so fast and sharp and accurate. And he can sustain a high pace with incredible volume for 15 minutes, probably 25 minutes. But I'm really high on Adrian Yanez. I hope he puts everything together, MMA-wise, because he needs to, if he's able to keep any fight standing, he's got at least one distinct advantage over just about anybody, probably anybody, and that's his hands. He's an excellent boxer. That was amazing, and from here, there's nowhere to go but up. He's got to fight a contender next, an absolute contender, and maybe he's 2 fights away from being in the top 5, challenging for a title. So, great win for Yanez. Great television moment for him to get that moment in his hometown. I don't even know if it was his hometown, but Texas, his home state. And that's awesome. When you see a sight like that, the whole crowd getting behind one guy, that's what helps create a star. And everything came together for Giannis last night. That was awesome. I was really happy to see that on ESPN. Or was that the last fight on the prelims? I don't know. Either way, just forget it. Jeremiah Wells versus Court McGee. I wrote down a different order. I may have gotten all this shit wrong. Jeremiah Wells versus Court McGee was devastating. Court McGee's been finished once by Santiago Ponzinibbio. Aside from that, he's like the Iron Man. He doesn't go anywhere, and he's really tough to put away. And he wasn't even knocked dead against Ponzinibbio, but that he was rocked and couldn't recover. Against Wells, he was knocked dead with one punch, and that was awesome. Jeremiah Wells is a problem, but he's a problem right now for anybody. He's 35 years old, about to be 36 in, I think, October. I checked it last night, and the clock's ticking. I mean, I'm 36, and I'm dying, I think. I don't know. No, it's, whatever. I'm sure he's a well-conditioned athlete and whatever, but the wheels do start falling off at some point, and I hope he can maintain this momentum. Beating Court McGee, especially putting him away, that means a lot. Also, putting away Warley Alves and the win over Blood Diamond. Not that Blood Diamond is anything special, but he did what he should have done, Jeremiah. So I'm really high on Jeremiah. I hope he gets a fight soon, and I hope it's against a really good opponent because he's exciting, an exciting prospect. And again, clock's ticking. But that was a spectacular knockout. Next up, and again, I forget the order, but this is the order that I wrote it down a few days ago. Jasmine Jasudavicius taking out, Natalia Silva taking out Jasmine Jasudavicius. This was one of the best debuts I've seen. I can't say ever, but, this year, it's one of the best debuts I've ever seen. She didn't put her away and whatever, but Natalia Silva showed everything in this fight except for the armbar, which is what she's already got, 7 of. She's the armbar specialist. You could see coming into this fight when they're showing the warm-ups, Jasmine was in the back or the corner just drilling armbar defense. And instead what we got here was Natalia Silva being a beast on the feet. So technical, so versatile in her striking, and such great takedown defense and even takedown offense. She was hitting those judo throws. And for a fighter like that, even though she's strong and whatever, she's given up a lot of leverage to Jasmine, and she was tossing her around with judo throws. I was really impressed with Natalia Silva. And her striking, again, not that I'm some striking expert, which I'm not, I throw punches like fucking Ronda Rousey, but she's, Jasmine Jasudavicius is a big, strong fighter, and she wasn't able to mount 1 second of offense. Natalia Silva was moving around, which took a lot of energy. She was dancing around, flying in there, and she was landing strikes with every appendage, every which way, leg, body, head, and spinning shit. And she looked amazing in every second of that fight. That was an amazing debut. And we have a prospect, I want to say, because that division may be a little more shallow and whatever. She's a prospect. That's 125. 125, I believe. So excellent debut from Natalia Silva there. She was denied a bonus, because they gave bonuses to all the finishers. But still, that was as good as it gets for a debut, aside from, a finish or whatever. All right. Gloria de Paula Maria Oliveira. This was a razor-thin fight. Razor-thin. I think Dominic Cruz said this and he said it about a few fighters, but Maria Oliveira, her defense is offense, and that's what won her the fight. Her defense was offense. Gloria Paula is more that slow and steady, wear you down type of fighter, which is awesome. But she wasn't able to slow Maria Oliveira down enough. Maria Oliveira still had enough energy in round 3 to steal that round with aggression, if not anything else. You know, she won that fight with aggression. She's in great shape to even be able to win a fight like that, and that's something. But still, you know, I did think she was defensively starting to falter after that big first round. It looked like a typical case of fighter, the exuberant, whatever fighter, burning a lot of energy in round 1 and then just falling apart, watching the cardio dissipate. And that just proved to be not the case. And I think a lot of that is because Gloria Paula, she doesn't, you know, she wasn't able to really tax Maria's cardio. You know, she was stalking her and striking well, but enough where I thought she clearly won round 2. But it wasn't enough to tax her energy. There was no dirtiness. There was no grappling. There was none of that. It was just, there was a little grappling, but whatever. Maria Oliveira had the energy in the end to steal that round with her athleticism, and that's what we saw. So a great fight. Could have gone either way, but it went to Maria Oliveira. Ricardo Ramos, knocked out Danny Chavez. I did not see this coming. Like I said, coming into the fight, the one thing I'm sure of is Danny Chavez survives. Well, I wasn't counting on a spinning elbow. His second spinning elbow in the UFC, the first of which came against Firas Zahabi's brother, Ayman Zahabi, in the 3rd round, which was beautiful. But this one was, I think, in a different way, more beautiful. It was more beautiful because he knocked him dead standing up with the spinning elbow. He could have knocked him over with a feather after that. And then he put him away after that. But he was clearly out on his feet after that spinning elbow. It just knocked him silly. And that's a highlight reel for the ages. Great win for Ricardo Ramos. Like I said, he's been in the UFC for 5 years at this point. And, you know, he's already got some excellent highlights. He's going to have a nice long UFC career. And that's exciting. Cody Stamann knocked out Eddie Wineland. Sucks to see Eddie Wineland go out like this, but I kind of had a feeling, you know, when you're betting on Stamann via knockout, I think it's safe to say you don't trust his opponent's chin, and I don't trust Eddie Wineland's chin. And it sucked profiting off of that, but I did think Cody Stamann had, you know, he was just such a better athlete, and he had the hands and the volume and the power, you know, the deceptive power, because it's not going to produce a lot of finishes at the UFC, but he's put away enough guys on the regional scene where, you know, he can get it done against Eddie Wineland, who is a shell of himself. And that's what happened. Eddie Wineland, I still think he's capable of beating a lot of ass, but not in the UFC. And frankly, on the regional scene, you know, even though he can beat everybody with his offensive skills, his chin's not there. It's over for him. So I hope he retires. I think he did retire. Left his gloves in the octagon. But, you know, he had an excellent career. Excellent career. 11 years in the UFC. Another 5 or 6 or whatever in the WEC before that. He's been fighting in Zuffa. And I know WEC wasn't Zuffa back in 06 or whatever. But he's been fighting with the company for a really, really long time. And sucks going out like this, but this is how most fighters will go out. Next up, this one I remember, actually, I put Hawes and Win above Darkus and Dillashaw because they switched that, the first 2 fights from a few days ago. Hawes and Win was a very good fight. Really one-sided. It looked like Win might be able to pull it off in the middle. Just started getting through with his hands, and I don't trust Phil Hawes' chin, especially as he becomes more fatigued, but Phil Hawes is, he's a monster. You know, he's already got such good wins in the UFC over Imavov and Kyle Darkus, although that's may not look as great these days after last night, but he's beaten good fighters, and he's beaten them in ways that have impressed me. And this was Still, what a lot of people may have expected coming into this fight, him to put away Deron Winn, but seeing it happen is something different because Deron Winn is tough. He's never been stopped aside from the Gerald Meerschaert third round exhausted Darce choke or Anaconda, whatever that was. And that was not a path to victory for Phil Hawes in this fight. This was either decision or finish, and he got the finish. He had to drop him and rock him multiple times with short elbows and a lot of long strikes too. Obviously, Deron Winn, he's 4'3", and he looked awesome doing it. Also, like I said, not that he had to weather a storm, but he took some punches on the chin by a 185-pounder in the middle of a tough fight, and he didn't go anywhere. So this was a great win for Phil Hawes. And Deron Winn, sucks. His kids, his students are watching him, his wrestling students back at home. So, it always sucks thinking about that aspect of things, but whatever. Everybody's got a story and a family and whatever, and it didn't go his way. Hopefully he sticks around, but I don't think he's long for the UFC, to be honest. I just think, anybody with any sort of wrestling who also has 6 inches of height on him, if not more, it's going to be trouble for him. So he's got to cut down to 135 or whatever, fall apart at middleweight. Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Dalkaus. This one really surprised me. I thought Darkus would be the better fighter everywhere. I thought he would be able to control Dolidze, and I expected him to win a decision, if not get a late submission. And the exact opposite happened. Dolidze, there was some horse shit, a groin strike or whatever, and then it was just Dolidze knocking him out. He TKO'd him. Rocked him with a big knee from the clinch, which it's always cool seeing stuff like that pay off because it's not often you see a strike like that produce a finish, where they're against the clinch and he, braces his head and throws the knee up really high. But that's what produced the finish. It must have hit him perfectly because Darkus went down and that was it. He looked like he just shelled up. He wasn't out, but he was hurt badly. And I think that's the first time he was TKO'd. I think. But either way, that was an eye-opening win. Really big moment for Dolidze. Really shitty moment for Kyle Darkus. And the first of many awesome moments in this card, on this event. Which was, again, from top to bottom, fucking stellar. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't, there's no way you're watching this video if you didn't watch the fights. But it was amazing. Just really amazing. From top to bottom, an excellent fucking card. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, smash that like button, all that douchebag shit. I hate being one of these people that just say, like, yeah, like, share, subscribe, but, what am I doing? 30 minutes, I got 9 subscribers. Oh, that's my fault. I don't know what, how to, advertise or whatever. I'm just sitting here with my cats making videos.